Sometimes you want a slice of tomato on a burger. Sometimes you want tomato chunks in your tomato sauce. Sometimes you want pieces of tomato in a curry or stir fry. That's where Faux-Matoes come in. Welcome to Real World AIP. I'm Stacy, and today I'm going to show you my very favorite substitute for tomatoes, papaya. Here's why. Well, first of all, I discovered this by accident. I had papaya, I didn't know what to do with it, so I just started tossing it into things. And I realized, like, whoa, the texture. I've tried watermelon as a replacement, and the texture's just crunchy and fruit-like, and it's not. The texture of papaya is very similar to tomato. Not only that, it holds up when you cook it. The other thing is the sweetness in a papaya. Papayas aren't all that sweet. I never really was a huge fan because of that. They do have some sweetness, obviously. Tomatoes have sweetness. They have a natural sweetness, which is kind of similar to the sweetness level in papaya, I find. We've got the texture, we've got the sweetness, the color. You add a little beet juice to this and it looks like a tomato. You get the aesthetics of the tomato. So what are we missing to turn this into a tomato? Acidity and umami. Easy. So tomatoes they're acidic, and I actually delved into the chemical constituents of the tomato. Malic, tartaric, and acetic acid more closely mimic the acid of tomato. Anyway, I got way into it. I tried using seaweed for umami, I tried using celery, I tried using capers. I did a lot of tests. This one, oh, and of course I tried tamarind. Tamarind didn't work with this. I don't know, this didn't work. In the end, I settled for what was nice and simple and did the job. Two versions. Let's make our Faux-Matoes. This was a whole papaya I bought, but I used half of it. You should do this over the trash. Don't do what I'm doing right now. I'm making a mess for myself. But you can use a spoon to get rid of these seeds. And then just peel the skin off. If you want perfectly uniform slices, you could do this in a food processor, but I don't really care. I just slice it. I like them thin. I'm making these two ways, so I'm going to stick these in two different jars. Alright, to make my salad tomatoes, I'm going to use a little bit of juice from a can of beets. The Lippy's brand is non-BPA lining. This is purely aesthetic. Oh boy, that's gonna stain. Don't want to put too much beet juice in there because then you're actually gonna get beet flavor. And I actually prefer using my own homemade beet juice. I keep this in the freezer. This is so much more concentrated because basically what I did was I broiled some beets in the oven. So, well, the toaster oven. I sliced my beets and I just put them in a glass dish with like a couple tablespoons of water, and then I covered them with foil and I bake them for like 45 minutes. So then this is the juice that you're left with. It's like ultra super concentrated like red beet dye, where the stuff in the can, it's almost like pink. You need a lot more of it to stain your papaya, and then you risk your tomato tasting like beets. So yeah, I would honestly suggest just roasting your own beets in just like a couple tablespoons of water in a covered dish, and then using that. It's going to be way more concentrated. You're going to need way less, and you'll get that perfect tomatoey color. But in a pinch, throw in some beet juice from the can. So anyway, now we have our beet juice in there. This is the simple, nice and simple and easy recipe that I used to throw into salad. I just salt them to taste. I like them kind of salty. And then I add aged balsamic. Even with my histamine intolerance, I tolerate this small amount that I put in here. Although I have to say my histamine issues have been getting a little better since I've been under a little less stress. Aged balsamic from Whole Foods, 6% acidity. 1 tablespoon. And extra virgin olive oil, another Whole Foods brand one. I got the robust and full-bodied one. 1 tablespoon. Shake this up. up really good. Just let this marinate at least overnight. I mean, you could eat them right away, but you really want the flavors to mesh together and for the balsamic to get in there. And basically, when you toss these into your salad, you're gonna think there's tomato slices in there. The next way I make them is a little more involved, not that much. This method's gonna require your blender. We're gonna add 1 cup of water. And to that, I'm gonna add 5 grams of mushrooms, oyster mushrooms to be exact. If you have a FODMAP intolerance, oyster mushrooms are low FODMAP. They are safe on the low FODMAP diet. But you can use any kind of mushroom if you don't have FODMAP issues. These are dried. I dehydrated them in my dehydrator just because I bought too many and I didn't want them to go bad. You can use fresh mushrooms in this. I'm not sure the exact equivalent of what that comes out to hydrated. The worst thing that'll happen is you'll have a mushroomy tomato. 5 grams is about that much. And when you crumble it, let's see how much volume it has crumbled. It's 1 handful. I'm going to blend this until it's hot. If you don't have a high-speed blender, just blend it until it's pureed well and then cook it in a saucepan for like 5 to 10 minutes on medium heat, just to get the mushrooms cooked. Or you could just let this blender go for a good 3 full minutes until you get a little steam coming out of it. By the way, this would be the perfect step to add your beet juice to, especially if you have it frozen in little frozen cubes. It's melting on me. Interesting phenomenon. For some reason, the mushrooms, they develop this like foam. To this, we just want to add a couple more things. 1/2 teaspoon of salt and 1/2 tablespoon of that balsamic. Quick blend. These I would let marinate overnight. Just let them absorb all that goodness. So let me just talk about what we're left with here. These that we marinated in the balsamic and olive oil with just a little salt, these are amazing in a salad. I basically keep shaking it up every once in a while to get the beet juice dispersed so you don't have all red on the bottom and orange on the top. That's just aesthetic. You don't even have to put the beet juice in, but it makes them look just like tomatoes. Anyway, these are amazing on a salad, so good in a salad. And also if you're making like a tabbouleh, you can use like my plantain couscous. You can also make marinated Greek tomatoes. So you can add like sliced red onion to this, some parsley, maybe some oregano. You can add some garlic and lemon juice for like a marinated tomato. And you can also throw these into stir fries and things like that too. But the quick, easy salad tomato, Faux-Matoes. This one, oh man. That mushroom adds the umami that a tomato would have. When you eat it right out of this jar, you will taste a little bit of mushroom. It's not bad. It doesn't taste like a papaya at all anymore. It tastes like kind of a mushroomy tomato where they really shine. And yes, I can eat them right out of the jar, but it doesn't taste exactly like a tomato. It tastes like a mushroomy tomato. But where it shines is when you put them in stir fries or soup or sauce or anything like that, and now it does exactly what a tomato would do because it has that little bit of umami, but the mushroominess kind of blends into whatever you're cooking it with, but you have the texture of the tomato and you have the color of the tomato and the hint of sweetness of the tomato. It's pretty cool. So for these, I would use them in, and don't get me wrong, you could put these in a salad too. These could be used interchangeably, but they both shine in their own different ways. This one, I'm talking stir fries, curry. Put bits of this in your tomato sauce. Oh, for a burger, you could do either one of these on a burger. Oh, I suggest making them both and seeing which one you like best, but either way, it's like having sliced tomato back in your life. By the way, if you're wondering why don't we have tomatoes on AIP? My patron Laura, she was wanting to introduce them. She's got a tomato garden. Well, so the reason why we avoid tomatoes on the autoimmune protocol there's a couple of things they have really. They have lectin, they have glycoalkaloid, but well, I'll go into the main reasons. The lectins for sure are an issue. They can increase intestinal permeability. You know, they're in the nightshade family, and nightshades contain a type of saponin called glycoalkaloids, and they can be truly really inflammatory. I personally nightshades are one of my biggest triggers. It is instant, it is undeniable. Well, actually, tomatoes are instant and undeniable. Crushed red pepper flakes and paprika and all that kind of gives me like chronic systemic inflammation. Tomatoes, like acute inflammation. Like many people react to nightshades. Even people without autoimmune disease can be sensitive to nightshades. The glycoalkaloid in tomato, a-tomatine, is so powerful they actually use it in making vaccines to make sure that your body develops immunity to whatever you're being vaccinated against. It ramps up the immune response. Of all of the foods that we restrict on the autoimmune protocol, Dr. Sarah, who created the autoimmune protocol as we now know it, says that tomatoes or nightshades are the least likely to be successfully reintroduced. For those of us that fail our tomato reintro, that's okay. You don't have to miss tomatoes. Make yourself some no tomato sauce. I have a ketchup recipe coming very soon. I also have a great salsa recipe. So yeah, and there's a hot sauce recipe on Patreon. You don't have to miss tomatoes. I'm dying to hear what you think. Let me know which version you make and how you liked them. If you made any tweaks, let me know. Also, if you want more behind the scenes stuff, recipes that don't show up on YouTube, check me out on Patreon. There's a link below, you know, yada yada. Anyway, you guys probably know about that by now. I say it at the end of every video, so I'll save you I'll save it. By the way, congratulations to Jen for winning a copy of the Autoimmune Protocol, the new ebook by Dr. Sarah Valentine. If anyone else wants to grab a copy, I'll put a link in the description. Awesome book on autoimmune protocol. I really enjoyed it. I hope to see you soon. I hope you like your Faux-Matoes. And until then, be healthy.